Donald Trump, he signed 4 executive orders, decreasing the unemployment hike from $600 a week to $400 a week. And he's also eliminating payroll taxes for anybody who earns less than $100K a year. He's also suspending student loan payments and extended the moratorium on evictions. Nancy Pelosi came out to do an interview. Let's take a look at that. This was her response.
In my interview with the president's chief economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, he said that the White House didn't know how many states would contribute to the president's plan to supplement unemployment insurance or how long it would take for those payments to kick in. What's your response?
Well, first, good morning, Dana. It's nice to be with you on a Sunday morning. Let us all be prayerful that we can meet the needs of the American people, especially as we all watch the angst that is associated with sending children back to school. What the president's advisor said it really shows the weakness and the meagerness of what the president proposed. First of all, he's saying states have the money. No, they don't. They have expenses from the coronavirus. They have lost revenue. Because of that, they are firing healthcare workers, first responders, teachers, and the rest. Sanitation, transportation workers, because they don't have the money. Second of all, everything is left out. Our assistance to the schools, feeding the hungry, helping people who are going to be evicted. The president's didn't even do a moratorium. He just did a study or a look at a moratorium. So again, something's wrong. Either the president doesn't know what he's talking about, clearly his aides don't know what he is talking about, or something's very wrong here about meeting the needs of the American people.
Well, let's talk about what he did do or what he said he did with these executive actions. Are they legal? And if you don't think they are you going to sue to block them?
Well, the fact is that whether they're legal or not takes time to figure out. I associate myself remarks with Senator Sass, who says they're unconstitutional slop.
But will you sue?
I think that's right. Well, right now we want to address the needs of the American people. As my constitutional advisors tell me, they're absurdly unconstitutional. But right now, our focus, and that's a parallel thing. Right now, the focus, the priority has to be on, again, meeting the needs of the American people, sufficiently allocating resources to send children to school, not threatening schools that if they don't have actual attendance, they won't get the federal dollars.
So given that, are negotiations going to resume, or are negotiations dead?
I hope so.
I'm sorry you had to sit through that and suffer with me. Oh, she's terrible. She's terrible. Look how she just keeps beating around the bush, no pun intended. She just won't do anything to help the working class. How many coronavirus bills we had until now? 4 or 5? How many of those bills included healthcare for you? How many of those bills had UBI? How many of those bills had a debt freeze, a rent freeze, a mortgage freeze, and a student loan freeze, and also a social safety net that you can stay afloat, that you won't get fired and laid off and lose your health care? Huh? Oh, that's right. They gave you a one-time check. She gave you $1,200 and Boeing got $60 billion. Kanye West got small business money. The Israeli army got $2.5 million to kill Palestinians with, because that's obviously a small business, right? But now all of a sudden, the priority is helping the American people. She wasn't thinking about the American people when she said that dark money groups and lobbyists who make millions a year should receive small business loan money. She gave you one check, dude, and trillions to the corporations, and now she's concerned with the American people. Do you see, once again, this bullshit that the Democrats pull? They always pretend to care about civil rights. They always pretend to care about the working class. They always pretend to care about minorities. in order to oppose Trump, but when they can actually help the working class, help minorities, they won't do it. They're nowhere to be found. I told you, they didn't pass one bill, they passed 4 or 5 of them. And every single time they screwed you over. When you needed their help the most, they screwed you over. Highway robbery. They took your fucking money and gave it to the corporations. They took your fucking money and gave it to the Zionist occupation to murder Palestinians. They took your money and gave it to lobbyists. They took your money and gave it to dark money groups. They took your money and gave it to billionaires. They took your money and gave it to corporations. They didn't give you any health care. They didn't give you any rent freeze, debt freeze, mortgage freeze. They didn't protect you from eviction. They didn't give you health care. They didn't give you anything at all. Just a measly check, some crumbs. And now she's saying, oh, our priority is protecting the American people. How many years until the next check, Nancy? Huh? How many centuries until Medicare for all, Nancy? And she calls herself a progressive. I'm a progressive. Refused to prosecute Bush for war crimes, refused to prosecute Obama for war crimes, refuses to stop Trump, gives him everything he needs. When he wants $700+ billion for the military, oh, she signs that shit. When he wants to put people in cages, she signs that shit. When he wants to put a fucking puppet patsy in Venezuela that no one's ever heard of and call him the president and execute military coups, oh, she signs that shit. And then she pretends to resist Trump. These people are literally wasting time and killing you while they sit on their asses eating ice cream in front of $22,000 worth of fridges. And then you vote for progressives who call her Mama Bear and celebrate, are proud to be endorsed by someone like that. They talk a good one when they want to call Donald Trump a big bad meanie. But when they can actually do some shit about Donald Trump, who is an orange clown, they won't do it. Nowhere to be found. And then what does she do? She has the stones. She has the nerve to talk about prayer and to bring religion into this matter. She asks you to pray. Now that's very nice. That's very neat. But when you're the one who can actually answer the prayers because you've been put in a position of power and you have exorbitant amounts of wealth and influence and you can pull levers in Congress, she ain't going to do it because she works for corporations. She's a pimp for the corporations. That's why she's worth over $100 million. And that's why you have nothing. And that's why there's 55 million unemployed in the United States. And millions have lost their health care. And millions are going to be evicted. And every single atrocity that Bush committed, domestically and abroad, every single atrocity that Obama committed, that Trump committed, all done under her watch, and she did nothing to oppose them. And now she wants you to think that she cares about the American people. She is one of the most corrupt people on the face of this planet. She is an enemy of the working class. She is your fucking enemy, man. This woman wants you to fucking die because you don't have health care. Literally, that is an understatement. This woman is okay with people being tortured because they're brown or they don't come from one of the Western countries. This woman is okay with people having their fucking limbs blown off by drones. This woman is okay with people in Venezuela having a puppet, a patsy, put in the place of their legitimate president. This woman is okay with imperialism. She's a fucking warmonger and an enemy of the working class. You should not tolerate her for 1 second. You are the richest country on earth. There is no excuse whatsoever for anyone to lose their job, to not have health care, to not have a stable income, to not be covered by unemployment, to be evicted because of a pandemic that is no one's fault. But she made sure that you suffered. Meanwhile, other countries that have less resources, other countries that are far tinier, did much better for their people. So what's her excuse? And how dare any of these progressives rally behind her? She is on Team Trump. She couldn't be more happy if Trump gets reelected so she can fundraise off of him and sit on her ass with Chuck Schumer and the rest of the Democrats and pretend that all the ills of the world are Donald Trump's fault when they are the motherfuckers who've been in government for 30 years and they did nothing for 30 years and they've been screwing you for 30 years and letting the corporations shit on you for 30 years. You can see it's not just right-wingers or conservatives, but also the Democrats who are also right-wingers who play this religion card. They pretend to be Christian and ask you to pray and they swear on a stack of Bibles, and they're the most unchristian people on the face of the planet. How do you go and bomb people and put sanctions and starve people, and you murder people from the land of Christ? You inflict suffering upon your own population. You refuse to give them health care, and you accept bribery and corruption, and then you call yourself a Christian? No religion, not one religion teaches you to do any of these things. Every religion tells you to be peaceful and to love one another and not to hurt other people. And then these politicians pretend to be concerned with religion and prayer and portray themselves as spiritual. No, they're completely, absolutely evil, and it's an insult. It's blasphemy.